welcome to Master Manual, a practical guide for DMs, GMs, and just wanna BMs, as well as other folks. This is a podcast where we talk about and answer questions regarding role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, mostly from a dungeon master's perspective. I'm Spencer Crittenden. I'm sitting here with...
Hey, I'm Cohen Edenfield.
Oh, yeah, we're here. We're sitting down. We're together. What night is it? It's Wednesday night? Is it
Wednesday? Yeah.
Let's not worry about it.
It's Tuesday.
One of these nights.
Because we recorded yesterday, and now we're recording again.
Oh, yeah. And we're back. I'm sure you were wondering how we escaped from Kezarek.
All right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I made an open and honest plea that he leave us be, and he, disarmed by my emotional honesty, he left.
Oh, yeah. And then I threw a bag of tricks at him.
Yeah.
And he was like, thanks, these are great. And then they were full of cute puppies.
Yeah. I like the rusty bag of tricks. That one has a bear in it.
Oh, yeah. I love the one that's full of Pomeranians.
Those are good dogs.
The Pommy bag of tricks. I don't know. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I've been better.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sort of, can I get real with you for a second?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Let me just get real first. I'm also not great.
Yeah.
That's all. Go for it.
So this is sort of part 2 of our season finale for season 2.
All right. We got away from Kezarek, but not before being marked.
Did you know that this is also almost the 6-month anniversary of us launching this podcast?
I think about a month ago, I clocked that it was about the 5th month anniversary.
Yeah.
So more or less, I guess but no, I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah. Half a year, man.
Oh, boy. What a thing we've done.
So far.
We built a Discord.
Yeah.
And people are there.
Yeah.
JC Gaio.
Over 1,000 followers on our Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like 1,200.
There's people on the...
pretty good considering, really we only use it to say there's an episode.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing about the Instagram, although I'm sure most people have left.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You underestimate.
I stopped posting on it.
Oh, well, that'll do it. Yeah. But also people often will stay on a thing that is not updating.
Yeah.
More than they will leave a thing that is updating infrequently and badly.
Uh-huh.
So I did the thing yesterday.
What are you thinking? Dungeon mastering, the name of the game.
So yesterday I ran this one shot that I've been talking about for a while, and the actual execution of it went really well.
Right.
Got there 7:30, 45 or so. Started playing 8:30-ish. Some people had to wrap up making their characters for the one shot. Played till about 11:30. It went really well. I had that new World Atlas map thing that I picked up. It's Do
you want to talk about
the
that?
Master's Atlas? Yeah, it's this neat map where it's like you get some 20 5x5 tiles that are dry erase, and they look like parchment on one side and like plain white on the other.
Are they
grids.
hard?
They're pretty hard. They're good. They're
not soft.
They're not soft. They're solid. And you get some other some small some 3x3s and some 2x6s.
Mm-hmm.
You also get a lot of these things that look like little pencil drawn artifacts that you can pepper throughout. There's a table, and they're in a longer table. There was a cool part where I had some enemy monsters flip a table up and hide behind it, and I was able to put the little table artifact in
against the
pawn stand.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
then they used it as it gave them half cover, and then they were moving it around, and it was neat. It went really well. It was it worked really. I was sort of taking it for the simplest run I could, which was using it for a tower, and each one of the big grids kind of worked perfectly as a tower level. There were a couple that were bigger, and I just added the one that's 2x6, so you can just extend it up.
Mm-hmm.
But those work great as hallways. You can make a really big room by having 4 of them. You can draw on it in advance, which is what I did. I had drawn little details in the room, and then numbered the back so that I was able to lay them out as I got to each room. It's good for, I'm sure, my understanding is it's really good for unfolding a dungeon as your players explore it, because you're able to just lay these tiles down.
Yeah, so can I just, that's something that some DMs have done. I had a friend named Daniel Shilovich, who pronounced it Shilevich most of the time, but I think it was pronounced Shilovich, his dad said. Anyway, he used to carry a manila folder of graph paper that he cut into the intricate shapes of every floor, and it was usually bigger, like a 3 by 3 square is a 5 foot square of D&D, but he would make all these shapes and lay each room down, and it was really cool. He had a whole manor, and it was multiple floors, and so you could lay down each room of the floor on top of each other, like you're saying. But yeah, these dungeon tiles, they really engender that sort of dungeon mastering, right?
Yeah, and like the physicality of it, like I've already thought about, like it would be cool to mod, like I might do, because we have we have figurines that are our main characters, and then we have pawns that we use for the villains, or for NPCs. I'm already thinking like I might get some little just plastic stands to like make like a 2-level thing, so that they're fighting on different levels and like moving. You know what I'm saying? Like one on top of the other.
Right.
There was a part at the end where that kind of happened, and I sort of had to do it by just propping them up, and also just moving them all up to the next level.
Sure.
There wasn't a lot of backtracking.
Right.
But a little bit. They saw a lot of the puzzles were set up such that there was an obvious evil solution and a harder to find non-evil solution.
That's fun. Did they clue into that pretty quick?
They sort of got a sense of what was going on, but like they're all pretty good role players, so it wasn't a It wasn't anybody like pointing out like, "Hey, this is like Saw," but they actually ended up surprised, like They didn't do the evil thing; they did the good thing, but often in ways that I didn't anticipate.
Classic.
Yeah, so that was fun. I put a like kind of mutilated magma method in there that they ended up really bonding with, and like they charmed it, and I let them do charm person on it, even though you're not supposed to, because I was very delighted.
That's some Harmontown shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's like, I want to see where this goes.
Not to claim it or anything. Not to claim your good DMing as a branding option.
It's the kind of thing where it's like, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens. I'm still going to make them roll for it, and this thing's going to resist. But it was good. So the playing was good. The thing that wasn't great was like sort of the weak. So this is a thing that I had already put off doing this once, because I was kind of sick. Right. And I got really anxious that I wasn't going to be well. Like I was like sick 4 days before we were going to do this before, and I was anxious that I wasn't going to get well enough to have, like, I was like, well, I'll probably be well by the time we'd be playing, but I won't be well enough to prep in the interim. And then like yesterday, like in the 6 or 7 hours, I spent all weekend working on this. I worked on it last week. I spent like the 6 hours leading up to actually playing just anxiously, like in a state of hyper anxiety, like this, the way that I would get in school, like when working on a paper right up to the deadline, like really just convincing myself that if I didn't spend all of this time, like I didn't even really eat dinner. It was kind of a bummer, because like Kate and I had just gotten back from this con, and we really, we'd said we were going to kind of relax, but I ended up, just sort of sitting on the floor, like writing on the tiles and like writing. If they do this, if it goes this way, this happens. And if it goes, and then of course in the actual moment of playing, they did a bunch of stuff that I didn't anticipate, and I was perfectly fine with rolling with it.
Right.
But it's this aspect of DMing that is, I don't think we've talked about it a lot. But it's the part that's the drag. It's the part.
What does that mean?
The anxiety, like there's a lot of anxiety,
right?
And I can kind of feel like if I'm not prepping, then I am ensuring that it will go badly. If I'm not thinking and planning and prepping and having all of this stuff and worrying myself about it, like that the actual event for which I'm like I am the only load-bearing individual of this like several hours long social thing will go badly.
Right.
And it will be absolutely only my fault. So we've talked about this a little bit off the air.
Sure. I talked about how I don't know. I'm thinking like there's got to be a lot of this seems like it's tied into just somewhat performance anxiety, because it is performance and it has a similar relationship as performance where you're looking to impress people who your perception is they have no reason to like you or trust that you'll do anything worth them accepting. And that's part of the deal. I think in D&D, like there's more acceptance than real performance because it's your real friends and it's coming together like a poker night. It's like if you're not dealing well at a poker table or whatever, it's not going to ruin your reputation. I mean, it's more pressure, I think, in D&D, but it's like that's baked into it, and that's just this pressure that I mean it's something that exists. I think it's just a nightmare and it builds up. I mean but that I think is exacerbated by other environmental factors. I think like I believe there's hypothetical groups, and I understand there to be hypothetical groups that exist for long periods of time consistently. But then I also think that a lot of people pave over a lot of their off time and stuff when they talk about their relationship to D&D in a way that's like FOMO or whatever, where it's like, oh yeah, this guy played for years, and it's like, yeah, they met 7 times over 3 years or something, and then it's just like, but we think of like, oh, all these long campaigns, but I think a lot of the cream floats to the top, and you're like, oh yeah, D&D's happening, and like it's a lot less like that to an extent, and I think, but then a lot of that just comes from this kind of pressure that's built up, and I think that gets exacerbated by environmental factors. I think a lot of times for me, I felt underappreciated. I felt that my friendship link to these people was incumbent on my ability to deliver the goods. And that was borne out by me not being invited to play as a player in the games that they offered. I think generally speaking, you should give some, credit to the DM for doing all this legwork. If you kind of in the same social group kind of set up, at least if you're a beneficiary as a player of that DMing, like you should offer the DM a player slot, because it's like they're doing it's like, the referee probably wants to hang out or something. But I think that was something that really helped me. But like I'm saying, that was an environmental factor. That is an outside thing of D&D. And since it's a social game, we've always talked about it. It's a social game. It's about dealing with your friends. It's like, it's all baked into what the animal of it is. But at the same time, I think that's largely like one of these human factors more than anything else, if that makes sense. But that's not to say it's not something that we shouldn't tackle as DMs. I'm very curious. So just to put this out there before continuing, the audience, what are your experiences with this? Feeling burned out as a DM, feeling building pressure that one thing I haven't said is that it eventually boils over and you're like, fuck this. I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to put it off till next week, and then next week becomes next month, and then it's like we're done, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm over it, and then I'm drawing a new map, and a couple months later, and then it's like the cycle begins again, and I don't know that that's healthy, but that also feels like my unhealthy relationship to the thing. I have one more anecdote, but I want you to start talking if you have anything to say. Does that make sense? Because I feel like
absolutely.
I've been ranting.
No, this is, I had a feeling that you had things to say.
Oh yeah, no, I have things to say.
I think what you said about like I think that that FOMO is a factor.
Right.
There's this belief that it's like, hey baby, D&D, like so often when I hear people saying that they want to play D&D, it is often expressed as like, man, it would sure be cool. It's not, it would be cool. It'd be great. I would prefer to see man, it would be cool to play D&D.
Like the same way it would be cool if a dog showed up.
Yeah, but like what I will actually often see is I just can't get a group together, or like
Right.
why am I the one who isn't able to play D&D?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like I think there's definitely a sense of people feeling left out of this
Maybe
renaissance. And of course, what we've said on the show is if you really want to play D&D, and it's a lot easier if you're the DM,
right?
But it's also then 800,000 times harder if you're the DM, because it's all in the same way that it's harder to write music than it is to sing songs. It's hard, man. It's a lot. Like even playing in games can be draining. I mean, it can be sometimes.
I'm sure. I believe that.
And like
mostly I leave when experiences happen like that as a player. I just go, I'm gonna run in my car.
You just bounce?
Yeah. I
guess most of my play has been in like these groups that become very long. They become longer. Like we just celebrated our 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
We've been playing, like the group I've been playing with Rich as the DM, and Laser and Amy and Rick and Kate and me is our group has been playing for 1 year.
Right.
And that's wild. We're about to hit level 8.
How many sessions would you say you've had?
I could actually probably get out and count. Probably in the neighborhood of like 20 or so, maybe a little, maybe.
Nice.
Like we play, like there have been times when we played more often.
Right.
We make hay. Like,
yeah,
is sort of the thing. Is like
I'm not judging you.
When we know we're gonna have, like when people, it's Laser's in a band, Amy goes to cons, Kate goes to cons, I got stuff, Rich teaches, Rick has his show. It's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff.
D&D's low priority.
We try to make it a priority. It's basically like, oh, the stars have lined up, we all have time, thus we are going to play.
Right.
And it's fun.
Oh yeah.
I'm starting this game in a couple of days. The one that it is my second one that I am, and I am also, the stars have aligned with my 3 players in my Skype game that we're going to start playing again soon. And I'm also joining another game.
As a player?
Yeah. So that is a little bit, we'll see if it's some folks from work. And we'll see. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't feel like there's a huge amount of pressure if you're joining a game that is starting, because that can, especially with like several people who haven't played before, because there's like a even money, this isn't actually going to play out or go anywhere. Right. And then you can just be like, well, also like, I feel like there's less pressure early on. If you could be like, hey guys, I've really been enjoying this, but I think I need to bow out. If you're as a player, you're not really breaking the thing. Especially if it's less, if it's just like a loose group as opposed to like couples or whatever.
Sure.
I guess I'm playing and running a lot of D&D, and we do the podcast. And
right.
I wonder to what extent this is. Am I doing this too much?
Well, I mean, this also. So you talked about your earlier problem being like all this pressure associated with D&D, and now you're talking about this. Both of these seem like situations of time management, don't they? Isn't there a version of this where you have a more balanced workload that's just achievable and it exists? Like obviously you had a lot of pressure with this one thing because you postponed it, but you could have hypothetically pushed it off. I think what's important is
for me, like mostly like a lot of the pressure was coming from the fact that I knew that our DM Rich really wanted to play.
Right.
He hadn't got a chance to play in a while, and I wanted to do a good job. I wanted him to have a good experience. I wanted everybody to, but like I wanted. It was his first chance to play in a while. I wanted it to be really good.
Right, of course.
And also, it's like I've learned a lot from him, and I wanted to I don't
Sure.
know. You don't want if you're the one off, if you're doing the one shot at the normal table, you don't want to be like the way worse. Like you don't want to deliver a way worse experience. I guess.
Well, okay, yeah, sure.
So there was some of that, but all of that is just my shit.
Well, I just like that. That makes sense to me. Okay. So ages ago, back before 4chan went full Nazi on the gaming forum, there's this guy. I think his name was like Earthcraft. I don't know.
Was this on 1D4chan?
No, this is on TG. And so he used to make all sorts of homebrew rule sets. It was great. We tried to make this game about runes. We tried to make this game about magical puppets. It was great. We made all these rule sets, all this lore. Oh boy, it was fun. There was IRC talk and stuff. And then one day he was like, hey guys, I apparently had a psychotic break. This is very unhealthy to be engaging to the level I am. I got to get my shit together, and come back to it. And like it was really crazy to me because I was like, this guy is like a font of genius, and then it's like, then he like disappears, comes back. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? This was when I was pretty, not a child, but like much younger. And that always kind of stuck with me. And I think like part of it comes down to like a DM's access with this game is he is a provider, like a host, a hospitality dispenser. And when you're doing that role, a comforter, and when you're doing that role, you yourself have to be healthy. And that means a lot of times you have to get yourself to a place that you're healthy before you can do that in a healthy way. And so that means taking time for yourself and making sure to give yourself space. And I think if you don't do that, like it could be really bad and create all these results. And I think a lot of this pressure is part of like us like trying to get it done. And it's all this stuff, but it just seems like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought because I'm high.
No, I think you're hitting on something real, which is that what that guy was getting from that was, to a certain extent, it was he was
like credit card debt or something.
Oh, it was like he had credit card debt?
No, I mean like it's like mental. I just mean like it was like, fantasy's escapist, right? So like you delve into it when you're trying, you're like I want to be magic because I want to deal with my boss or something, and then like you kind of. But I think it's like it can be easy to just fantasize about stuff instead of like actually taking proactive steps a lot of times, and I think there might be a correlation between maybe nerds and stuff like that, but just focusing on the objects of our obsession that make us feel happy and inspire us, rather than taking the necessary steps and taking steps back. And I think that's something, because I think there's nerddom is fanatic in kind of essence on a level. You kind of obsess or you go hard and all the Steven Universe lore or whatever. And so that's kind of a defining characteristic. And I don't know, there's a phrase, your greatest strength is your greatest, or your greatest weakness is your greatest strength pushed too far. So if you're fanatical, then you're overzealous. So like that can, you overexert yourself or whatever. So if
I've never heard that phrase, but that's very good.
Your greatest weakness is your greatest strength pushed too far. It's a great way of reframing things you like about yourself as ways you could worry about improving yourself. It's a really great thing. I like to think of myself as a smart person. I overthink fucking everything to paralysis, and it destroys me, and it ruins almost every aspect of my life.
Yeah,
it's not bad that I'm smart, but it becomes that way.
I think that I'm or at least I have been told or think that I am fairly empathetic.
Sure.
Or like, I don't know, but that hits a point where I sublimate my comfort and happiness to what I perceive to be the needs of people around me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that is sort of a thing that comes through in D&D.
Because it activates a need that we have, like to feel liked and to be needed and to provide and to make people happy and stuff.
As creative people, I think that something that guy on that forum was getting on 4chan was getting was he had this like, it sounds like he had a receptive and engaged and participatory audience in his like stuff that would normally be would traditionally or historically be stuff that was just doodled down in a notebook.
Right.
It has now it takes on existential import. People are treating it as if it is real. And then he becomes like almost like he's got this like demiurgical like he is the thing creating this universe.
Right.
And it's like when he stops, it dies. Are you familiar with the SCPs? I think I've talked about this before.
Yeah, Elaine's gonna go nuts. That P-Bat guy.
Yeah, the horror. It's like
SCP-01 or something.
Or there's like SCP like 134 or whatever was the statue or whatever. Or it might not have been 130. It might have been 93. I don't remember. Anyway, something that is almost more interesting to me than the site itself, than the good stories themselves, and definitely more interesting to me than the bad stories, is the fact that apparently this community has kind of a reputation for people having breakdowns.
Sure.
Because it is a pseudonymous community where it is like this thing where you try to write a story and you try to write it in this like format that has like these rules, but also a lot of unwritten rules. And you are producing something that if it is accepted and if it is upvoted, it will become canonical in this universe. It gets a number. It becomes SCP, 4,221. And like there's only one of those. There's only one with that number. So if you get your thing in there, then you exist. You made a thing that is in the universe.
Right.
But then like later people might turn on it. It might get deleted.
Damn.
Because if a thing gets like negative whatever and sits there for long enough, they delete it. They actually had to protect an article because it was getting brigaded by
bad people.
Let's just say bad people. And
they were probably.
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
There you go.
Yeah, it showed up on the sites you would expect.
Yeah.
Let's downvote this. So
even that one.
Yeah. Oh, that one too. Oh, even that one. So but it's that pressure to create a thing that is then given reality by the participation of other people.
Right.
And
which is what Twitter is also. So maybe the whole world is having the same kind of burnout.
Maybe. Like, yeah, it's the pressure to produce the content that is
creative gambling.
Yeah, that's taken because it is taken seriously. It becomes important, and then you feel pressured to keep making it because it's important to people. And once something becomes important to people, they might express, or you might assume that they are disappointed.
Yeah,
when you don't.
It affects your value system and your kind of work-life balance and something when it doesn't, like when things become important to you in a routine-wise and a way in how you spend your time, they become pillars added to your life, and then that kind of shifts things around, if relationships are like that too. And then when you break up, it's like, I don't know how I used to spend time because it's like the pillars of the way you spent your time have been knocked asunder, or whatever. But yeah, I just think in creativity, especially being artists or whatever. Not that we're artists, you are, but or whatever.
So are you?
No. I mean, I'm just saying. Like,
I have watched you produce.
I'm not going for that.
Things.
It's all.
I know
good.
you're not. But I'm just saying, like,
right.
Inadvertently gatekeeping the terms, whatever. Sorry,
no,
I don't mean to police
what
you're
fine.
saying.
I just mean like artists and creative people. I think there's a lot of people. It's like, I gotta do stuff, and then, but sometimes maybe like you just gotta
not for a while.
Buy sheets.
Yeah,
I bought these sheets. Oh yeah,
are they good?
Nope.
Oh,
they look fine though. And that was mostly the point.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I used to just have these bad-looking sheets, and I was like, well, these just kind of look like shit. And now I have sheets that look fine.
I should get some new sheets.
That's what I was thinking. That's why I bought new sheets. I would have recommended it. I overpaid and under-received. But, yeah, no, I don't know. I truly believe that this is a pitfall that exists, but not fundamental to the exercise inherently. Like I think it's just the like we've always said, it's the problems that people bring to the table that could be the hardest. Getting a group together, getting people to know the rules, getting people to be scheduled, getting people to keep showing up, getting people to not get mad, getting people to stay engaged. These are all people, performance, kind of hosting kind of things, and they're certainly not easy. I think that my access with D&D has helped me understand people a lot better, but I think that has not been easy. It's been like a learning process for me, and so I mean, I don't know.
I think that maybe you're right, and I mean maybe there's something to the fact that every time so people often. I mean, the very nature of this show is that people have problems at the table, right, and they ask, what should I do to fix this? Mm-hmm. Because they feel that the responsibility is on them to not just produce the content, but you also become an ad hoc social art. Like if there's an interpersonal problem at the table, the DM is now also sort of the referee.
Sure.
It feels like.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they've invested with this like authority, but realistically, if like somebody's being an asshole, if like a player is being a jerk and like being rude, it's like the DM shouldn't be any more. It shouldn't be any more their responsibility than anyone else's, especially the person themselves to like put it to like stop it. Mm-hmm.
And you might not have that social credibility anyway. Like you might be lower status in your friend group, even as a DM. So you might literally not have that authority that you attempt to wield. I mean, I don't know how big that happens, but that is something, you might be the lower person on your friend group or something.
It might be how you ended up as the DM.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I'm not saying that. I certainly have felt that way. I guess I've talked about that already.
Have you?
I'm not bitter. Oh, yeah. I'm doing great.
Yeah,
I'm doing great. Another thing is I think workaholism is something that stems from not having a good work-life balance and not having a strong sense of identity out of your working life, which when you're a creative person working creative fields manifests as your creative life. And I think that your creative life and your professional life can be aligned and can be overlapping and can be in sync, and they can be at odds. And so you can be all like, I'm so creatively fulfilled and professionally fulfilled. What's going on? And it's like, well, I still don't know who I am outside of work, which is maybe a guy who works in my garden and maybe a guy who like feeds ducks or whatever. But like that's part of that is being creative, but also part of that is just existing in the world and doing laundry and stuff. And like, it's not fulfilling, but it's definitely part of making you feel better. And it is self-care, and it's part of making normal cycles and having normalcy to your life, which is important to your mental state too.
I've definitely, I mean, like we're running up on sort of the 1 year anniversary of when I stopped being a professional creative. Mm-hmm. And I've had like freelance creative work and stuff, but it's like there was an event or like the ending of a thing.
There was the event on NBC.
Yeah.
I think it was NBC. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it was either NBC, ABC. It was definitely a network that canceled that before we found out what the event was. Or maybe we did. I don't know. But like, there's the event and then there's a television event.
Oh, yeah.
Different things. Both of them kind of leaned on that caring about that a universe you knew nothing about had some mysterious thing happen.
It's event television.
Yep.
This is Hollywood Handbook territory. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we're looking for a 4-quadrant feature. Yeah, there you go. And so the thing is, it's like, what was I saying?
Oh man, ask the high guy.
We're talking about events. The event. Oh yeah, we're running up on like the 1 year event anniversary of like when I was no longer solely and that like the job that I was doing was one where I could pour all of my creative energy. There was no upper limit, and it was sort of like I just.
And where were you living?
In Burbank.
So you were displaced from your former life. So your outside of work life was also in not devastated.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Well, when you used to not live there, right? You came out to work here?
Oh, yeah, but like I wasn't really in a I haven't been in a
So to the extent that, you might have
like I moved out to LA
to work, focus. And so you were like, I'm being very creatively engaged by my work. But in the sense we're talking about workaholism, you didn't have to worry about your life outside of that because you could pour all of your time and energy into the professional and not think about the other side at all.
There was a whole, I think the record was 29 days that I didn't leave my apartment when I was working from home. And when I finally did, it was to get laundry quarters because I had Amazon Prime delivery. They'd bring groceries. They would bring like the food that I needed, which was like beans, bananas, rice, soda, etc. Like the things that fueled, that I thought of as fuel for creative work.
Yeah, they're fuel.
Yeah, and so like
definitely.
I guess now I'm in a situation where I have a job that it requires my attention, but not as much creativity. And so maybe that's why I've been throwing myself into like all of these different D&D things and
to engage your passions.
Yeah. And it's definitely easier than making a video game.
Oh yeah.
Which is just about, I think, creatively the hardest thing in the entire world. I might be speaking a little myopically, but it's like I think the next thing would be like a movie.
A VR game is maybe harder.
Maybe.
No, I don't know.
It's like every aspect. It has every aspect of everything else, and also you have to let a person just poke their grubby little fingers around and
touch it.
And you can't you're not there to say, there's something so freeing in being a DM after being a game developer for years is like,
oh yeah.
I can do all the prep, but it's like, if it goes wrong in the moment, I can just fix it. And then it only happened for a couple people and it wasn't for thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm carrying that stress.
What?
Maybe I'm carrying that like stress forward of like having like made like a game that like came out and like
the way you can't like just like read a book once you've done like books or something, like you're taking this new nuanced I do it, it's making it hard to just enjoy as a consumer or something.
Yeah, like exactly. Like after like when I finished grad school, I couldn't just it was like a year or two before I read a novel because I couldn't just read it passively and enjoy it. I wasn't able to turn off that hypercritical, like keeping, like I wasn't able to make it use less of my brain because like when you read something, when you're like thinking that you might have to publish a paper about it, you've got 9 different thought tracks that are going as you're reading it, and you're like storing evidence for different, like maybe I could do this or this or this or this, and it's hard to turn that off.
Right.
And similarly, I guess in making D&D campaigns, it's like, well, what if they do this? 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 What if this happens? What if this breaks? What if they don't find this? The truth is, I can just be there and just say it.
Right. And then there's also the concept of good stress. Have you heard about I think I might have talked about, but before that, it's time for a break.
Is it? All right.
Hey, this is Pexis, the Muscle Mage, coming to you with a new muscle-bound product, Cohen and Field.
For me?
For everybody who listening to this, it's called books. Pexis, the Muscle Mage's book brand books. Read them.
All right. Well, I do like reading.
Use the promo code Goblin Flakes.
Okay. Thanks, Pexis. I can always count on you. We should hang out more.
Oh, yeah. Just buy my book brand books and we'll schedule an appointment. We can pencil it in on one of my book brand books.
This is kind of a mercenary friendship already, but I guess I did ask
I have you down for 3.
Okay. 3 o'clock or 3
copies.
3. Oh, okay. Well, all right. How many? Okay. That sounds fun, Pexis. I'd like to talk about your books.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to support you as an artist and as a wizard, as a thaumaturge, and as a bodybuilder.
They got pages. And we're back.
I sure did enjoy that visit from a friend.
You know I did as well. It was Friends. Sorry, so as I was saying about good stress.
Yeah.
This is a concept like, so there's things that stress us out and they add to our like mental load or whatever, our workload, the plates that we're spinning or whatever. And a lot of them can be fundamentally positive and also weigh on us stressfully the way even bad stress can. And so we don't tend to flag it in our heads as things that can contribute to our mental load. And also they can be. So that's an important thing to take stock of, I think, is think about that. Even if you're enjoying things, they can still help be weighing you down and keeping you from certain goals if you have certain goals or whatever. I don't know.
Even like video game, like playing a video game. I have a bad habit of finding the work in any video game that I play, finding the obligation or the thing that I'm for top of my head example, Kingdom Hearts 3 has these things called lucky emblems where it's like they're like hidden Mickeys at Disneyland.
That's cool.
And you're supposed to you can take pictures of them with your little phone, and they're like hidden throughout the environment. So the way that I have played this game that I waited for like literally half my life to play is a lot of it is like me just raking my eyes over the environment looking for, oh, okay, where's the hidden Mickey? And like it myopically zeroing down to that becoming the entire thing. So I'm like, well, if I don't get these, then I'm not playing this game responsibly enough. Like that's the job is to get these.
Yeah.
Because you get some rewards for doing, you get some like gear, but it's like it's not a hard game. I could like especially for me, no, not to brag, but I'm good at Kingdom Hearts. I would be good at it by accident, and it's also not a difficult game. So like I don't need like to get the Aegis plus belt, charm, ribbon, grand ribbon. I don't need all this stuff. I could just play the game through. If I did, I probably would have beat it a few weeks ago.
Sure. And
instead I've turned it into, but is that what maybe I liked that from the other ones.
Right.
Maybe the synth, like when it was instead about like, oh, I need to get all the synthesis materials to make the Ultima weapon. Is that what I liked more than actually, Mickey Mouse dressed as Yoda from the episode 2 jumping all around with his dumbass Keyblade?
That's funny. Yeah, but that's like video games. Like people can go for it for different reasons, and like MMOs can be really unhealthy access to MMOs. And I think like you can pour yourself into video games too. Like, and then there's also this weird expectation as a consumer of video games, which is this whole other layer to it, which is like I spent this much money, I deserve this much hours or this much enjoyment out of it to justify my purchases. And I think that's generally a self-defeating attitude, and it gets back to misset expectations. But I think that's a real thing that happens in video games a lot more than it used to. And then also as you become an adult, I think your value system changes where you have a lot of time and less money, and so that changes like how you interpret a video game, and then you change to having more time and less, or more money and less time a lot of times. And then it's like now, do you want to do all the achievements, or do you just want to see most of the cutscenes? Whereas before you wanted to grind, and so you skip a cutscene or whatever. I don't know. And that's also, maybe that's something that can change throughout time, or depending on where you are in your life, or depending on what you need out of games in that time too, right?
Yeah, I think that it's hard for me to like, the games that I would enjoy the most would be ones that had no upgrading, no anything, no things to collect, because the presence of those things in a game makes that the entire game for me, and I feel like I can't even see the rest of it. As soon as that happens. Yeah. It's like I was enjoying God of War, the new one, so much. And then I realized that you could kill the little ravens, these little Odin ravens by hitting them with your axe. And then I realized that I had not been getting those.
Right.
So now I have to backtrack, and now I have to climb and comb over all of this and find all of these. And
I guess I usually just bristle against that as a game player and be like, I don't like this game design. I'm judgmental.
I mean, that's fair. I think that it's, I don't know why do we respond to that? Why is that there?
We've talked about the Drive to Work podcast and Mark Rosewater talking about game development and stuff. And game players will do things that they think they're being told to do. I think it's kind of maybe part of the observer effect, fundamentally. The idea, it's like they know that there's something kind of being expected of them, that being the observer is there or whatever, and they play into that role. So it's like, oh, am I supposed to go down this path? Like for me, when I play RPGs, I always take the road less traveled because I'm like, I bet there's a treasure here, and I bet I'm supposed to check this treasure before I trigger the cutscene.
And you know that the treasure there will be the treasure and it'll be the dead end.
Right.
And then you'll know to go back to the main path.
Right. And so it's all this stuff. And that is a very tedious, non-fun game experience that I'm only doing because I know I'm incentivized it. I know it'll somehow pay off. And even if it doesn't, which can be a lot of the times, especially if the levels aren't designed very well, I'm still doing that. And I'm getting mad. And I'm getting mad at the game. And I'm keeping on doing this thing that's making me mad because it's being designed by the games. And the game designer might be all like, oh, well, then they won't do that. But it's not like that because they'll do it because they think they're supposed to, even if the game developer is like, well, don't do that, or they shouldn't do that, because it's an option, because it's a menu, it's a choice on the menu that is being presented. And as a game designer, you should limit stuff like that because your players are going to go down the path they think they exist, and not necessarily the ones that you want them to go down to out of available options.
Yeah, like I don't feel good that I found treasure. I feel the best case scenario is I feel an absence of the anxiety that I'm missing the treasures I'm supposed to be getting.
Yeah.
Like the worst feeling I can have in a game is to like halfway through the game find some collectible that I did not know about. Is like, oh God, this now. I was enjoying you so much, Spider-Man.
Right.
I was having a great time, but now I have to get all the pitch. I mean, 100% of that Spider-Man, and I loved the story and the actual experience of playing it, but there was like 30% of it that was like, I am just going back and forth.
Right.
I am just doing this enough to get the tokens to max out suits I will never wear. To just for nothing, for no one. And I'm going to delete, and then eventually I have to delete all of it because I have to put another game on there.
Right. Futility. Oh, yeah. It's depressing.
So what's the solution?
Well, I mean, that also seems like something about it's like what you're trying to get out of it versus what you're putting into it. And I think if you were to realign that, you might have a healthier access level or something, hypothetically. But, I don't know. I feel very judgmental, and I'm trying not to do that, but I'm also trying to respond honestly while being recorded.
No, I think that this ties back into, it's the same thing with DMing. It's the same. I have to accommodate for, and I have to do the work.
Well, you have to be healthy, because you can't like, that's part of the work even. Like you can't even begin. That's like the foundation, I don't know. I have this, I have a pinned tweet, you guys, that says, I just realized that my self-hatred was a pretty transparent attempt to convince myself I had a good reason not to be doing the things I needed to be doing to improve my life and be happier. So I think I had that thought while I was taking a shower, and I think it was more or less regarding hygiene. And it's like, a lot of times I'm like, I go to bed and it's like, well, you hate yourself. You don't need to worry about yourself. Like, you hate yourself. You're going to die. Hopefully you'll die. It'll be great. And that's a lie. And the reason it's a lie is it's a lie to convince yourself you have a good, like, you shouldn't feel bad about just failing to do this basic upkeep task that every human does in their entire life every day. Just, you hate yourself. That's why. There's a great answer.
It's easier to not pick up your room
Right.
If you're leaning into feeling that you're a piece of shit.
Right, exactly. Because it's like, yeah, I hate myself. I don't need to. But like fundamentally, I think a lot of times, and it's not necessarily the answer that the thing that will pull you out of your hole is to do those things. But at the same time, it's like those things still need to get done, and they don't get less piled up by all this stress that builds up. But I think it's a lot of interconnection there. And again, it comes back to like, it's very easy for me to read the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and it's harder for me to go to Bed Bath & Beyond and buy sheets or something. But then you turn 30 and you're like, I need new sheets.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, maybe you can do both.
Well, I think everybody's different, obviously, and it just depends on what you need in the moment, what you need out of stuff. I mean, I think a lot of people come into D&D because they feel some void that they're trying to fill, and they're trying to fill it with D&D, and maybe that's not healthy, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't play D&D. It just means you should recognize what you're doing and go in the direction the strongest, the most honestly, rather than try and go in the wrong direction to solve this other problem.
Yeah, like maybe
I'm not projecting, am I? Does this?
No. I mean, I asked you. I wanted to talk about
this. All makes sense, right?
You have a perspective on this,
hopefully,
and I guess
I'm unhealthy too.
Yeah, no, that's also why I wanted to ask, because I knew that your perspective was not going to be, here's what you should be doing. It's like, here's my versions of these problems.
Yeah, because this is just how I feel. But then I also just feel really bad about all the stuff. And so it's like I often come to answers and just don't act on them. And that's a lot of the things. And then it's like, I'm depressed. And then it's like, I should be, go get help. And then it's like, well, they're just going to tell me to do all this stuff that I know I got to do anyway. So maybe do that first. But it's you want to work out before you join the gym. Yeah.
Kind of deal. It's like, well, before I am in a gym, I should like get in a little better shape.
Especially, when they've told me you should get in shape, and it's like, yeah, no, I said that. I know that. I just haven't done it. So I know we're on the same page. That's the problem right now, is we both know I have to do something, and we both know I haven't done it. That's maybe part of, I don't know, this to me, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Maybe
no, I don't think so.
You go.
I want to make a personal pledge to myself.
Oh damn.
And I'm going to try to
mark it.
I'm saying it on the air because I'm going to try to give updates on this.
Hold on, let me get some summoning string to summon a Modron.
Oh yeah, he's a being of pure law and order
to sanctify this pact.
Hello, Modron. Here's the thing: I want to not stress myself out running this Horde of the Dragon Queen campaign. I want to take this pre-prepared material, get what I can out of it, but not feel like I need to explore every single avenue that's in the. Like, I don't need to prepare. I don't need to prepare 8 different encounters just because there's a random roll a D8 and here's one of the 8 encounters they will encounter. Maybe I can just pick the encounters they're going to get into, and maybe like there's like, why should I? Yeah, like that kind of thing. Like those little cuts. It's like, well, fuck that. I'm not going to prepare. Because the way I prepare encounters is I like write the creature's shit out on a note card for like everybody who's in the fight. So I can do my initiative order and like just flip the cards. But like I've been like freaking out because I was like, God, I have to do this for all 8 of these or like make enough. It's like, what if I just pick the encounters they're going to have?
Mm-hmm.
And they will never know any different. And also, I think it'll lessen the chance that they're just going to die because they get like 4 really hard encounters at level 1. And maybe I don't have to read all of both books and have everything planned out and like seed everything like I'm making a damn serialized cartoon. Maybe I don't have to like make this D&D campaign as good as Steven Universe. Maybe it can just be a thing I'm doing with some friends.
That's great.
Okay,
I'm making it happen.
Thanks, Modron.
Sorry about that.
I hope that Modron survives and doesn't die, turn to ash, and then is replaced by the Modron the level beneath it, because that's how their hierarchy works.
That could be rough. I think the spell might still be active though, unless some sort of clause happens. But no, what that feels like to me is I think it's important to have I mean, obviously, it's like a creative process. I think it's important to have like a healthy creative process. And I don't know that like everyone has the same process. Everyone has a different process, and healthy process can mean different things to different people. But I think that, a lot of what we are trying to do and what, I think part of the Discord was about is trying to find tools and strategies to kind of cobble together a healthy process. I think for me, I really like not over preparing, but I find the preparation helps me be comfortable improvising outside of the preparation completely. Like if I write a notebook, I can have it on the table, never open it up, and feel very comfortable improvising without touching the book. That is, to me, it's part of what makes me feel comfortable at the table.
It's the net that allows you to be a trapeze artist.
Right. But that's just me. And I think different people have different things. One thing I wanted to talk about is Sly Flourish's The Lazy Dungeon Master, I think gets into a lot of what we're talking about. A lot of dungeon masters feel like they're letting people down, like they prepare a lot and it doesn't go anywhere, like they're spiraling. They feel a lot of mounting pressure to perform every week. And it builds up, cause problems. I haven't read it. I want to actually explore it. Remind me after the show. I want to buy it.
Flourish's The Lazy Dungeon Master?
Yeah, The Lazy Dungeon Master manual or handbook or something like that. I'm going to download it and then I want to read it and then actually have a real absorption to be able to tell people at some point. But I think that gets into what we're talking about. It talks about how the guy had been feeling like he wasn't doing well. He did all this prep that didn't go anywhere. He was always feeling like he was letting stuff down. It built up over time and stuff. And maybe I'm editorializing, who knows? But then he kind of learned there's this kind of like this was a way that different people were feeling, and that there's like a kind of more improv-y heavy way that really cuts to what the expectations are of a player group and a D&D game, and how to deliver on that with minimal prep while focusing on the things that really need to focus on. So I think to the extent that we're having this problem that comes to stress levels and maybe finding a healthy balance and also a healthy process, I think that maybe could be a next step that we can like explore and talk about. Obviously, I've done the rules of improv or whatever, but it could be cool to really dig into what kind of stuff that means without causing any problem for anyone's intellectual property.
Yeah.
But
I do want to listen to this guy. It seems like it's an audiobook.
It's an audiobook. It's an ebook. I think there's a real paperback copy in circulation. But yeah, it really talks about, and I've heard a lot of real people recommend it. Jared Logan, who's on the 3rd season of Harmon Quest, I believe has recommended it, and he's a really strong dungeon master and also storyteller of other systems. And so I trust his chops a lot, and he said it's great. I've heard a lot of good things from a lot of people. I'll give it a listen. Yeah, but I think it kind of delves into what we're talking about too. Just it kind of has to do with a lot of this stuff.
Well, I'll give it a listen.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of it's hard to find a good process, and find the good tools. And it's just like, I think that a lot of what I've found that are my tools are stuff that has now been put into 5th edition. And so like it uses a lot of the tricks that I've used. And like what you were talking about, like combat cards and encounter cards, like I pretty much just freeform almost any monster ever, because like at the end of the day, a monster is something that dies and it inflicts attacks, and attacks are rolls that cause damage. And so you can freeform almost all of that all the time, and the results may be lackluster, but like it's certainly, you don't have to think about it. And so it's like I do prep work, but I also triage. But it's like, so I've cobbled together this process that to me has limited a lot of my stress. And then at the same time, over time with my Harmontown journey, I've really changed up my process with regards to Harmontown to minimize the amount of stress that I've been taken by, just because it's just, I don't know. I guess I am curious what people have to say about this stuff.
I'll tell you, the moment that had the least prep, because it was at the very end, was the boss of that one shot that I ran.
Right.
The Ruby Yeth Hound.
Yeah. Did you get there?
We finished.
We pivoted into all this heavier stuff, but I wanted to, before you got there, I wanted to say, wait, what about this fucking Yeth Hound? So do you want to talk about that?
So I had him appear. It was neat. I had like I got all the different dog tokens out of the thing that what is it?
The pawn kit.
Yeah, the pawn kit from the Pathfinder pawn kit. And like I had all the different dog tokens, like, and behind my DM screen they were like from smallest to most threatening. And then like I would have you like, and you briefly see this.
Right.
And then like having different people see it. But like the higher they got in the tower, the longer it would stay, to the point where when they were when they were in the level below the one that actually has the hound in it, it like looked at each of them in turn and like gave them like a long look and like flared its nostrils. And then and then in the actual fight, it kept getting bigger and it started flying. And then I realized, I was like, I've given them all these tools to actually be able to kill it, because it's like they found some silver arrows, and they like found, they have magical attacks. And then I realized, I was like, that's sort of underwhelming if they do all this and the way that they beat it is
traditional attacks.
It's just killing it. So I just started having them like hit it, and then it would heal, and again get bigger. They'd hit it and heal to get bigger. But then when they attacked the gem, when they realized they needed to attack the gem,
how did that realization happen?
I think somebody just suggested it, and then they tried to do magic. They were like, well, maybe we'll try this. And they're like, no, let's just keep attacking it. And they attacked it. It got bigger. And they're like, okay, well, let's try the other thing. And then that started working. And then like I had the attacks that they had already done reappear. And then other attacks. And I was like, you suspect that maybe other adventurers who have battled the Yethhound and fallen before you, these are the attacks that they did. So it becomes this whole thing, and they eventually like pierce through the wand, and a beam of sunlight hits the Yethhound and burns it away, and it's it's skeletal and yelling, and it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty satisfying. Like it came together really well, because it had sort of been like, and I had done this thing where every time they had done something evil, like I had a card where I was like writing down anytime one of them like did something evil or suggested or like made a suggestion that was like evil, I wrote it down so that like at the end he like evaluated all of them. But then like I also started writing down when they would do something good, and then so at the end his thing was like, none of you are worthy to be my new master. It's like, you would sacrifice a method, but you also would sacrifice yourself. It's like you. And then one of Laser spent the whole adventure turned into a spider. And it's like, and you were a giant spider the whole time. And that was kind of hard for me to get a beat on. So it's the way that things go best is really just the improvised stuff. But so maybe I need to do more of that. Maybe I need to not beat my brains in.
That's, I think, the thesis of Sly Flourish's The Lazy DM.
Well, I'm
use the promo code Goblin Flakes.
Don't piss this person off.
They love this stuff. People love us. Everyone loves us. I haven't pissed off anybody except the people who I may have offended by implying that I don't need therapy.
Well, I know that I do.
I need therapy,
I'm
stop
in the
writing.
Process. I'm in the process.
I'm seeing someone. There. Shut up. Everybody shut up.
Okay.
No. Not you, the audience.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Bye. No, I'm leaving.
That was preemptively to the audience.
All right.
So how
I think we're ending on it.
Do you got any last thoughts? Any last words? Click.
I would this is we don't often solicit. I don't often solicit directly, but I would really like to know if I'm not the only person who's feeling this way.
Oh yeah.
So if you have had this feeling and you have dealt with it and you've succeeded or failed, if you could write to mastermanualpod@gmail.com, I'd sort of just want to see how people feel about this. Just
use the subject fail mail.
No. You know what? Use the subject. DM burnout.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's getting hot.
Yeah.
It's burning. It's burning up. It's going viral. It's the red zone.
It's the hot zone.
Michael
Crichton's the hot zone.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
What else? So this is the season 2 finale.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I hope you found something. There's no animals.
No, sorry, no.
We ran out of animals. It turns out there's no more. We didn't have the budget. We had to keep the lights on.
We'll start pitting them against each other next season and selling them for parts and see who survives.
Yeah, I have a deal with Pexis that's been going pretty well, so that might turn into some more animals down the road.
Pexis and Hickory Farms.
Yeah, and I'm working as an intern for the Centarnivore. So,
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. You really did. You should have made up a nicer monster.
Well, I mean, we have. Well, shit. Have we made up a single nice monster?
I don't. Yeah, we had a couple. I think
we had like the Dream Fruit.
Well, there's stuff that we've made during Loot Table or Brute Fable that's been pretty nice. I don't know how many nice monsters we've had. Most of our monsters have been pretty scary. Other than O'Houlihan the Living Pub.
Love that dude. I think I just. I think I created a place that would be nice to go. Where if you're a decent patron, you'd have a great time, and if you're not, it fucking eats you.
Just like our Discord.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Much love to the Discord. I've been popping in there more often lately. Nice folks.
Oh yeah, they're great. We talk about some great stuff. There's a lot of great miniature and discussion about how to make dungeon stuff. I saw this guy making 3x3 dungeon tiles out of foam and applying stone texture. He was just painting and washing them, using some. I'm learning some great mini techniques. There's a lot of great sculpts going on down there. Oh yeah, it's all about leveling up our game, finding healthy work processes and good tools to take to our lives,
and like finding things that seem like they would be fun to try, not looking at someone else doing something exceptional and taking that as your new baseline that if you don't clear, you are failing.
Matt Mercer. That's mine at least. I don't know. I don't even watch it. It's just like a more hypothetical, like my dad.
Griffin McElroy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, what a nice guy. We met. Have you met him? I met him once.
I haven't.
He hosted a thing. Oh man, I don't even want to.
Are you thinking of Travis?
Oh, I think it was Travis.
Travis is also very nice.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
We might have to cut this. I don't think I will. I'm so sorry, you guys. I love you. We should make a Harmon Quest spinoff with you guys, but I'm actually working for it too. That's the main trick, is that I'm just gonna, ride your coattails. Call me.
Beat me.
But
if you want to reach me, Kim Possible live action.
I mean, really, it's what it comes down to, is just that
be kinder to yourself.
Just mastery is manual. Do you know what I'm saying?
It looks like we booked it again.
Oh yeah.